Alright, what is up everyone? I'm here to bring you a very important update on Chainlink. Is Chainlink undervalued? In this video, I'm going to run through some tactical analysis, talk about what I see happening both short-term and long-term, and explain some of the massive opportunity that still lies with Chainlink. So, if you like the sound of that, folks, I want to ask you to do me a favor and do yourself a favor. Like, subscribe, comment, share, and hit that bell icon to be notified of new uploads, because I've been ringing the alarm bells on Chainlink saying we're very likely to explode ever since we broke out of this descending triangle here. And if you'd been following the channel, let's say you'd gotten in near the peak here, you could have been up on Chainlink just over 70%. So folks, like, subscribe, comment, share, hit that bell icon to be notified of new uploads. Now, before we delve into the chart and the technicals, I want to take the opportunity to look at the Bitcoin, at the top market cap coins, because I want to illustrate a very important point here, which is, let's take a look at the top 10. What coins are in the top 10? Okay, well, we have Litecoin, Uniswap, Cardano, a lot of coins here. What is ahead of Chainlink? We have Litecoin, and we also have XRP. Two coins that, in my opinion, do not deserve to be ahead of Chainlink. XRP with the SEC lawsuit and the centralization of the majority of the supply. I'm not a giant fan of XRP. It's definitely not my first choice. And I mean, Litecoin, look, folks, in terms of a trade, an argument could be made that Litecoin, it looks interesting as a trade, but I wouldn't want to hold this thing long term. It's a dead project. It doesn't do anything. Now, let's talk about Chainlink here, folks. Chainlink is the largest oracle. For those who don't know, oracles are necessary. So for the smart contract ecosystem to mature, for Ethereum and the Polkadot and Cardano ecosystem to mature, you need smart contracts with access to data from outside their native ecosystem. And to do that, you need an oracle. You need oracles such as Chainlink, and Chainlink is the #1 oracle in the space. So, folks, if the smart contract ecosystem is to mature, oracles have to mature and grow alongside them, and Chainlink is the leader in its niche. So I'm looking at this top 10 list, and I'm saying Chainlink deserves, or at least an argument could be made that Chainlink, over the long term, probably has a good chance of surpassing Litecoin, surpassing XRP, because it has a better use case, in my opinion. If we look at XRP as a market cap of $20 billion, let's take a look at the Chainlink as a market cap of $12 billion. I'm looking at this and I'm asking myself, could Chainlink one day surpass XRP in terms of market cap? I think it has a good chance over the long term, in my opinion. I could be wrong. Folks, these videos are not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I don't know any of this for sure, but I think a strong argument could be made that even looking at the top 10 list, Chainlink could perhaps, even to this day, be still undervalued. Now, let's take a look at the chart, because I think there's some very important things that you need to be aware of. I kind of think moving forward, the bedrock of support, the floor for Chainlink, I think an argument could be made, is the 20 exponential moving average on the weekly. We can constantly see how the 20 exponential moving average on the weekly has been constantly acting as support for Chainlink. The 20 exponential moving average on the weekly is currently just above these previous all-time highs from back in August at right about $21.50, just under $22. So this is a strong floor of support. If we zoom into the kind of more near term here with Chainlink, we can very clearly see that Chainlink is in an ascending triangle here, very likely to have a breakout, and thus very likely to have a big move here within the next roughly week or so. I'd say, within the next week, I'd say we're very likely to see a breakout from this ascending triangle, and thus a very large move. Now, if we break down bearishly, I kind of think the floor for, or at least a temporary floor for Chainlink, is $22.50 to about $20.50. The 20 exponential moving average on the weekly, and as well we can see here the VPVR point of control is right at $22.30, $22.50. So we have a bunch of very strong support, all convalescing at the same point. This $20 to $22 range is going to act as a strong bed, a strong floor of support, at the very least a temporary one, if we break down from this ascending triangle. Which, if we break down, hey, that's a great thing. You get the opportunity to dollar cost average your way into more Chainlink, a project that's very likely to do very well in the long term, in my opinion. Now, temporary floors of support, if we break down further, I believe will be kind of like the $27 range, kind of from $20 to $27.50. Why? Well, one of our Fibonacci extension levels lines up pretty closely with that level. So if we take the bottom of the impulse to the top and then retracement, we get some fib levels here that are likely to be relevant. One of our fib levels that's right below us, if we correct further, is the 236, which lines up at $27 I'd say let's just say $27.75 to $27, 50 cents would be kind of our first floor support here. We can see how there's a nice spike in volume at these regions here, so I think that's likely to act as support and probably even just maybe retest the lower extremities of this green support line here based off of these 2 wicks. So if that doesn't hold the support, I think kind of our next stop here, next temporary floor, is I'd say right around $26. Nice psychological level as well. If we take a Fibonacci, if we look at our fib levels here from the top of this, from the bottom of the impulse to the top, these are some levels that we could find support if we break down, and the 382 just so happens to line up right around $26. So I think based off this fib level and this previous price action here, based off these wicks, this is likely a level where we'd find support. And if that doesn't hold, then I think we go here. Now, let's say we break out bullishly. Well, Chainlink was in this channel that we were respecting for quite a while, and now since we're below it, if we break out, I think we're likely to probably run up against some kind of resistance here, which would probably coincide with some of these all-time highs from $35 to $36. So I think if we break out bullishly, if we take the height of our ascending triangle here, and if we move this to the breakout point, could we hit, over $40? I think so. I think running up against some kind of temporary resistance here makes a lot of sense, and based off our fit levels here. So I think kind of, $37 would be our first stop, and then $30.65, and then probably this green, what was once acting as support will now act as resistance, this line here, and probably takes us to over $40. So I think a bullish breakout, I think eventually takes us over $40, but something very important to consider, folks, is Bitcoin. Bitcoin is in a very interesting place right now. You need to follow and understand what Bitcoin is doing because Bitcoin will affect the rest of the market. If Bitcoin goes into price discovery, that will temporarily place the dampers on the altcoins pumping. Although over the long term, it's actually a good thing because Bitcoin leads the market over the long term. It brings more value into the space. So over the long term, Bitcoin pumping is a good thing for the altcoins. But in the short term, in the immediate term, if Bitcoin's in price discovery, that's going to place the dampers on the altcoins because of the pairings. Folks, you always need to look at the pairings because they can often play an influence on the US dollar value of whatever coin you're looking at. So if Bitcoin decides to skyrocket and enter price discovery, we're going to see Chainlink versus Bitcoin start to fall, which is going to affect the US dollar value and could be a factor that leads to us breaking down from this ascending triangle. So very important to understand and follow what Bitcoin is doing. If we break down, I think where we could find a leg of support here is here on this green slanted line. We can see how we're kind of forming a wedge / ascending triangle. There's multiple ways you can draw this, but bottom line is these are the relevant support / resistance areas I think we need to look out for. Okay, if this green line doesn't hold, then I think kind of retesting these levels from about 0.4 to about 3.5. I'm not going to count all those decimals, but I think this range is where we probably find our next leg of support. And wherever we find that support and that floor in the Chainlink Bitcoin pairing will be very important to try and understand when we find that floor in the US dollar value of Chainlink if we correct and if we break down. So very important chart to look at, the Chainlink Bitcoin pairing. It's good for understanding hidden support and resistance on the US dollar value and hidden bullish and bearish divergence as well. You must follow Bitcoin. You have to understand what it's doing. It leads the market. So another interesting thing to know as well, Chainlink against Ethereum. We are right up against a green support line here. If we break down, we're probably going to go for an extended leg down to probably retest this 0.012 region here, which again could be a negative factor for Chainlink. So if Bitcoin starts to enter price discovery, that's probably going to lead to Chainlink breaking down. Although it's not the end all be all. I mean, Chainlink could definitely still pump for sure, but it's just a factor that you need to be aware of. Now, one important chart that I keep harping on because I think it's basically like a temperature check. It's a gauge of the altcoin market. Whenever you want to know what altcoins can do, look at the Bitcoin dominance chart. For those who don't know, Bitcoin dominance is the total value of Bitcoin in comparison to the total value of all cryptocurrency. Whenever it rises, altcoins simply suffer. Whenever it falls, altcoins simply benefit. So if Bitcoin starts to enter price discovery, Bitcoin dominance is going to rally. We're going to continue rising. And once we see Bitcoin dominance go up against some kind of resistance and hit a roof and go for that leg down after the rally is when we see the altcoins start to pump. So You must follow Bitcoin to understand what the altcoin market is going to do, and the Bitcoin dominance chart is a good gauge of the altcoin market. Once we fall below the historically significant level of 60.5 to 57.5 percent of Bitcoin dominance, I think that is when we truly start to see the altcoins really fly, which is just a matter of time. I think by the end of the bull run, Bitcoin dominance is likely to be, between 30 and 40%, in my opinion, because that's what's happened historically. And so I think what happened in the past has a good chance, or at least something similar has a good chance of happening in the future. So, folks, these are some of the most important things you need to be aware of over the long term. What are my long-term price predictions? Well, people like to throw out a bunch of different price predictions. I like to say, kind of be more conservative. I rather, under promise and over deliver. I think kind of like the low hundreds of dollars for Chainlink makes some sense over long term. $300-$500, which a lot of people would say, oh, that's conservative. $100 to $500 if you're really trying to be like very conservative, I think is very reasonable over the long term. This cycle before the end of this year with Chainlink, I think before the end of this year, I think $100 to $500 Chainlink makes a lot of sense, but it is very difficult to understand how high these coins are going to go over the long term, and they're really just guesstimates for fun. I think it's much more easy to understand when this bull market is likely to reach some kind of peak and sell based off time frames, and when the market happens to peak, whatever the market happens to give you, I think is the better approach and the approach I'm taking. So I think this market with Bitcoin has a good chance of ending September, October. And if we look at the previous cycle, Chainlink peaked and the altcoins peaked roughly a month after Bitcoin. So I think something similar has a good chance of happening this time around, where Bitcoin is likely to reach its peak September, October this year, then Chainlink and the altcoins roughly a month afterwards. So come September, come October, come November, I will begin scaling out, selling slowly out of Chainlink regardless of price, whether Chainlink's at $30, $50, $100, $500, or $1,000 come September, October, November. That is, and maybe even August. August I'll start selling like a little bit, but come September, October, November, I'll sell it more heavily. That is when I'm scaling out slowly over time. So just how you can dollar cost average your way into the dips to hold for the long term, you can also dollar cost average out of the peaks around when a peak to the market could likely be. So that's the approach I'm taking. And if you want to know why I'm saying September, October for Bitcoin specifically, join our Discord down in the description below. In our resources section, I posted a chart by Trading Shot. Trading Shot does a very good job of breaking down the Bitcoin cycle. So Bitcoin moves in these 4-year cycles because of the halvings, and based off the last halving, we were very likely to reach some kind of peak with Bitcoin late September this year. So that is why I'm selling based off time frames. These are some of the most important things you need to know with Chainlink here in the short term. So if you like this video, do not forget to like, subscribe, comment, share, hit that bell icon to be notified of new uploads. If you like what we do and want to support us, join our Patreon. Link for that down in the description below. You'll get access to our VIP Discord group where we talk about low cap gems, interesting setups, and very helpful resources and folks, gorgeous low cap gems. My soul hurts a little bit when I have to sell ETH for some of these low caps, but I really do think over the long term, next few months, a lot of these low caps have a very good chance of exploding. So folks, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, take care.